This was a correction I was really not expecting to make. So before we talked about Tesla moving away from Intel processors that power the infotainment display, and beforehand I was prefacing that this does not mean that the Model 3 and Y are getting the same 10 teraflop GPU that the Model S and X just got. Thanks to Green the Only and Tesla Scope, we actually might have some information regarding what GPUs Tesla is including with this AMD Ryzen refresh, and it might include the exact same GPU. I always think it's best to linger on the side of caution, kind of taper expectations, and I just felt like we didn't really have much confirmation that Tesla was gonna bring this heavy-duty graphics card, the same kind of GPU they use in the PlayStation 5, to the more affordable vehicles. I just didn't think that sounded like them, and the Model 3 and Y probably just don't need them overall because they're already outselling everybody else, and demand is crazy through the roof. But thanks to some teardowns on the AMD Ryzen Model Y, we are seeing the exact same GPU within the center console that they use on the Model S and X, which means that essentially those more AAA game titles that Elon was hoping the Model S would be able to play could actually find their way into a Model 3 and Y in the not too distant future. We've already seen some deliveries in North America from the Fremont factory of Model 3s and Ys rocking the AMD Ryzen chip, but of course it's kind of difficult to tell if you actually have that updated GPU without tearing apart the entire vehicle. The few people that have are noticing the same GPU, but Green the Only has already detailed, as of right now, this updated graphics card, this really powerful GPU, is not activated in any Tesla yet. Like the Model S, X deliveries, all of them don't have these upgraded game titles, which Elon has been mostly fairly quiet on. He said that there's kind of an internal debate on whether or not these should just be emulators, like porting the game over, or whether or not the game should be kind of rebuilt from the ground up, specifically for the Tesla software. But end of the day, there still is a very powerful graphics card in every refreshed Model S that is just not turned on. It's actually not being activated whenever you play games on the Model S, or using full self-driving beta, or switching between tabs or theater. That's all being powered off of the CPU, not the GPU. So Green the Only said this was discovered by a few curious people seeing what would happen if they disconnected the GPU from the motherboard, and they said they noticed no change in performance. So essentially, they baked in that graphics card knowing that in a future software update, they'll be able to take advantage of it. But yeah, it certainly feels very bizarre that they were advertising it at the Model S delivery event this year, bragging about, hey look, you can play Cyberpunk in your car, and yet all these months later, it's still not here. So it certainly gets me more excited because I'm planning on buying a Tesla next year, and now finding out that that 10 teraflop GPU might find its way into even the more affordable Teslas in the lineup. Yes, even the Model 3 rear-wheel drive, that will have a graphics card on par with a PlayStation 5. It's a little bit hard to wrap my brain around, but what it actually points to in my mind is that the reason we're seeing so many delays with Teslas really isn't too much to do with supply chain issues. It's more so about crazy demand for this vehicle, and of course that has driven the price up, but because Tesla knows they can taper demand by raising prices, why not make the product better overall, right? Like, I was always fairly disappointed every time we were hearing about price hikes and then Tesla removing things. Like, okay, we don't need radar anymore, so we're gonna remove that, and I was like, okay, cool, we don't need radar, but can't we see a price reduction of some kind? And then they'll remove passenger lumbar support, or they'll remove one of the speakers in the premium interior, and I keep thinking, okay, if the part's not doing much or the part's not that useful, I'm fine with removing it, but I would just love to see the price come down a little bit. But instead, it sounds like the price goes up, but Tesla is actively going to use those price hikes to make the vehicle experience better. And yes, graphics cards are fairly expensive right now, and people have a hard time getting a hold of them, but keep in mind that the unit sales we're talking about with Tesla is substantially lower than that of like PC sales or desktop computers or consoles, which are all being sold by the million this year, whereas Tesla, in the next few quarters is not going to be coming that close to 1 million vehicles, but of course production is ramping. But I have to imagine these graphics cards probably are sub $1,000 for Tesla to include, and we've obviously seen price hikes of around $2,000 or $3,000, so of course Tesla may be increasing prices just to combat inflation and the US dollar weakening, but overall I'm very happy to see there's a decent chance that Tesla is improving the product experience along with those price hikes, and once they figure out how to put Cyberpunk and Witcher on that graphics card that they've been shipping in the Model S for so long, those AAA game titles might actually find their way into the cheaper Model 3 and Model Y as well. Hopefully the one I end up taking delivery of next year, and that would would mean you can play far better games than just Dune Buggy Racing or Solitaire or Sonic the Hedgehog, but you could actually start playing, you know, Counter-Strike or Minecraft, and of course Cyberpunk, The Witcher, you know, any number of games that can run basically on the PlayStation 5. Avoiding any like contract exclusive titles, you could theoretically bring those games to the Tesla, which is pretty awesome. It certainly makes me wonder, like, with these major titles potentially coming to more and more popular vehicles, is Tesla fronting the bill for all these games, or is Tesla gonna start building in an arcade subscription where for another $5 or $10 a month you get access to those higher end games, or is it gonna be a one-time purchase model where even if you've bought The Witcher or Cyberpunk on a different platform, you gotta pay 30 or 50 bucks to unlock it in your car? This is a whole potential revenue model for them, which is why I don't think including upgraded graphics cards in all Teslas is that crazy of an idea. I know there's some of you out there that are like, these are too expensive, we should be working on getting the car cheaper. But I think long term this could actually end up being a very profitable sector for Tesla, because people probably aren't going to pay that much extra money to play, you know, Dune Buggy Racing and Solitaire and Polytopia. But if you start getting some major titles on the Tesla and people start realizing that their car has a better GPU than their PC or their console, maybe they'd be more inclined to play games on it. So feel free to let me know your guys' thoughts on Tesla beefing up the graphics power for the infotainment system across all their vehicles. Thank you to everyone on Patreon helping me afford, hopefully, one of these vehicles with this next generation GPU. And to everyone just watching, that does make a difference as well. So thank you. Take care. Have a great day.